Tinfoil Tidbits, Episode 6. This is a show where I just bring up quick topics that I didn't feel warranted a full video, but I wanted to cover on the channel. So the first thing is to point out that obviously this is Tinfoil Tidbits Episode 6, and if it's Episode 6, that means that there's 5 other episodes, and here they are, Tinfoil Tidbits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you are now watching 6. These are located in the Conspiracy Theory Truth-Seeking Tinfoil Tidbits playlist. I will link them in the description below. Make sure you check out those other episodes because they're good as well. All right, here's one. It's not talked about much anymore, but do you really think they haven't figured out nuclear fusion by now? In the 90s and earlier, nuclear fusion was all the rage, all the talk. You never hear about nuclear fusion anymore. Lends me to believe that they figured out how to do it. Do we really need to improve productivity? Or is productivity intentionally reduced? And this came about because I was watching a Lyndon LaRouche pack video. It wasn't LaRouche saying it, it was one of his followers. And they were saying that America needs to improve its productivity. I remember thinking to myself, yeah, right. Productivity is intentionally reduced. With just one city, you could probably produce all of the goods the entire world needs through mass production. 24 hours a day, operating all the time, robotics, automation. One city could produce all the goods for the whole world if they ran at capacity. But that's not how it goes, and it hasn't been that way for way past my lifetime. You can look back at the Phoebus cartel. They're the ones that made light bulbs not last longer than 1,000 hours or 4,000 hours or whatever it was. I think there's a documentary about it. Planned obsolescence, quotas. We could produce so much more than we do, and we don't. Yeah, housing. They could make so many houses that houses would be like supremely inexpensive, but then that would create too much houses, and everything is governed. I'm not buying needing to improve productivity. We need to improve automation and set people free is what we need. Why is America called an experiment in freedom? We're an experiment? Who is conducting this experiment? Who's collecting the observations? If we're an experiment, that means somebody else set this whole thing up and someone else is running the show. Does anybody know? I was thinking the other day, was the NAFTA superhighway ever built? At the turn of the century, in the first or early second Bush administration, there was all this talk about the NAFTA superhighway after the FTAA was passed and the Security and Prosperity Partnership, aka SPP. SPP, and present day Trump just overturned the TPP, but before the TPP there was an SPP. And the whole New World Order plan is actually happening according to the conspiracy theory plans. First you consolidate the Americas, Europe, the Eurozone, Asia, and all that, and then you do it all into one big global government. But Lou Dobbs and others, I guess, foiled the plans of the NAFTA superhighway. And I guess it was or wasn't built. I don't know. But I haven't heard anybody talk about the NAFTA superhighway in a long time. The Codex Gigas. I heard about this recently. Other people have heard about it for centuries. This book is gigantic. It's huge. It's a mystery. If you haven't heard of the Codex Gigas, look up one of the documentaries online. It's pretty cool. It'll take your mind somewhere, make you think about things. Is Tiger Woods really not good at golf anymore? Or is it a conspiracy? You guys tell me. Tiger Woods was so amazing, the best golfer of all time, and then all of a sudden around like 2008, 2009, he couldn't win anymore. He had like a back injury, his father died, and then there was the scandal. But how is it that he was so good and now you don't really hear about his name as often anymore? How could he go from being so phenomenally better than everybody to so average? You guys let me know. Software-defined radio. Somebody mentioned software-defined radio to me, and I looked it up, and I don't really see where the conspiracy is. So if you guys want to put links on why I need to be concerned about software-defined radio, you let me know. What will next generation look like? Next gen. So the last generation we had HD TV, Blu-ray, And now we have 4K. And 4K, it's not that big of a leap. It looks cool. It looks good. But it's not like going from regular TV sets to HD TV. I think the VHS to DVD was a greater mind blower than from DVD to HD or Blu-ray. The computers seem to have kind of peaked. Have you guys noticed that? Like, you don't hear about processor speeds anymore. i3, i5, i7, those are the last I've heard. Is there new ones? I don't know. Mobile tablets seem to have peaked as well. Cell phones have peaked. Wearables have kind of played out. They say the next gen is going to be the IoT, Internet of Things. But what's the next breakthrough? I don't see the Internet of Things as a breakthrough. I think it's more of like an extension. What could the next breakthrough be? And when I say that, I mean, I don't see what the next paradigm could be. I don't know what the social networks really changed the game. Wikipedia changed the game. Obviously, when the World Wide Web came out, that changed the game. I feel like the game is now peaked. Where can we go from here? Even like video game systems seem to have like peaked. Everything is peaked. We're at peak technology on the versions that aren't disruptive. Now, there's a lot of disruptive technology that will really change the game, but it seems like no one wants to release the disruptive technology. So what's the next breakthrough? What are they going to allow us to evolve into, technologically wise? Damage control. Why do we accept damage control? Damage control is when like a company or a government really foobars something and we allow their damage control to convince people that it didn't happen, or that nothing happened, or that they did it and they're sorry, but they're really not. So damage control is actually a field of profession that you could go into. It's part of PR. PR is a politically correct term for propaganda. And we call it damage control, and it sounds nice, but we all accept it. And I mean, yeah, people deserve second chances. Companies deserve second chances. But when you are professionally damage controlling things, then there is no realistic apology. It's just fixed. Fix this. Fix it. At what point does the sky become blue? Let's look it up at the sky the other day, and I'm looking in my immediate vision, it's all just clear air. But then you look at the sky itself, and the sky is blue. And you're like, so where does that actual blueness begin? Because you can fly in an airplane, and I haven't gotten high enough, or even those air balloons with the cameras on it. Where does the blue begin, and how deep is the blue? How many miles is the blue? Where is that blue? Where's the blue? Where's the blue? Why is the sky blue? And where? But at what point? Where does the sky become blue? Scientific explanations as religious apologetics. And actually, I covered this briefly in another video that'll either come out before or after this. But apologetics is basically the defense. And lately in Flat Earth, I see all these scientific proofs with quotes around it being offered essentially as apologetics to explain things, to get people to still believe in science. Just like religion, when you present religious people with things that contradict it, they go to their leader, and their leader offers the apologetics that defends the word of God. And that same practice now applies to science, and it even applies to status quo reality as well. Craft a different tech narrative. And what I mean by this is that the tech narrative, it's either, technology is going to be so great, or technology is going to invade our privacy, or the robots are going to take us over. What I want the tech narrative to be crafted as now is the technology should have liberated us by now. After 100 years of technological advancements, and even more than that, how are we still working 5 days a week, 40 hours a week? Wow. The technology should have liberated us by now. And our productivity should be automated to the point where everything is on demand at all times. How do we not have on demand everything? The Napster for everything. It's 2018. we intentionally reduce production and restrict and artificially scarce everything. It's 2018, 100 years, over 100 years of technological advancements, and people still work the same amount of time that they worked in 1918. So the tech narrative needs to be that technology is supposed to liberate mankind. Liberate mankind. Whatever happened to the Concorde? The Concorde. Remember the Concorde? It's like we've gone backwards with a lot of our technology. So airplanes. Airplanes haven't really been improved upon in the past 30 years. The only thing they've improved upon is charging you for bringing bags on the plane or bringing things on the plane. That's where and it hasn't improved your experience. It's improved the money they can charge you. So yeah, the Concorde. There's no plane that goes anywhere near the speed of the Concorde. How have we de-evolved? No Concorde equivalent for passengers for commercial flight. The solar planes. You look up the 80s, the solar plane, 1980s. At the turn of like 1979, 1980, there were a ton of people working on solar airplanes. In the late 1990s, there were people that advanced upon those solar planes and made even better solar airplanes. I haven't heard about solar airplanes in a really long time. What happened to the advancement of all these technologies? It's like we stopped. It's like we're in the dark ages. How they insult your intelligence. I really had wanted to make this a video a while back, but I believe that there are schools out there, maybe they're not even schools, maybe they're organizations that their role is to see how stupid people are, and they run experiments and like have private awards to who can showcase how stupid people are. So in the 80s, you had the pet rock, the invisible dog. The pet rock and the invisible dog. People were buying the pet rock and the invisible dog due to the advertising and the need to belong and all these different consumer behaviors. And I can't imagine these marketing companies that pulled this off, how much money they're making after this to say we could sell people a pet rock and an invisible dog and get them to spend good money on these things. Then later on, you had the underwear bomber. The result of that was all the full body scanners at airports. Then you got crisis actors, and when they tell you that they don't exist. And it's one thing when the media does it. I don't care what the media does. It's when I get attacked by people online that defend the stuff that the media says. Even when you have all the stuff out there that suggests there are crisis actors. So there's tons of other things. What other examples do you have of when they insult your intelligence? Here's one. This isn't quite insulting your intelligence. This is more of fooling you. There's a graphics arts college somewhere out there, I think it's in Canada, that to like graduate, you have to pull off some kind of an internet hoax with your graphic design skill, which includes obviously 3D animation, but not just 3D animation, whatever it's called, where you make lifelike looking video that's compelling, that looks real, and it's so realistic looking that it actually fools the public. The greatest example of this is the one where the eagle snatches the baby out of the carriage. So there's these active hoaxes upon the population that go on, and it's just a matter of being aware of it and being quasi-offended about it. Psychological engineering, sociological engineering has always offended me. Running schemes and plots on the population, I just feel is very unethical, and I don't like it. All right, tinfoil I don't subscribe to. Feel like these were, quote, approved. Now, maybe what I should have said is I feel like these have been co-opted. So you have chemtrails, CERN messing with time, Mandela effect, celebrity clones, celebrity Satan worship, secret societies, and their weird rituals. A lot of these are kind of played out now in tinfoil. But like chemtrails, we don't really know what the deal is. I think they're real, but I think the message or the reasons specified have been co-opted into something else than it originally was. If you look at the history of chemtrails, the story's modified over time. I'm not in denial. I'm not denying them. I'm saying I think they've been hijacked. CERN messing with time. None of us work at CERN. None of us really know. Mandela effect. That one's evolved over time. You know, Celebrity clones. See, the celebrity clones one, that one is, I think, it's not real how you think it is. So, but we'll leave that one there too. The celebrity Satan worship, I think that one was created by music video directors, where they pointed out all this like symbolism. Then, not as music directors, like they created conspiracy theory saying all this satanic symbolism is in the music videos to get people to watch the music videos to see where the symbolism is. And then like secret societies and their weird rituals, I think that one is an attack on the First Amendment, like indirectly, the right to assembly, the right to expression. And also it's probably done by competing groups to compete with the competing groups to make them look bad. Is teleportation measured in speed? This is like a mind bender. How do you measure teleportation? How could you measure? Now, obviously, that's assuming that teleportation is real in the first place. But if it is, what would its measurement be? I guess it would be distance. And the physics equation is distance equals space divided by time. But if you aren't traveling linearly over space, which would also be measured by the distance, and you're doing it instantaneously, so there's no time, what is the measurement? I guess it would be distance. It would be distance because you're traveling distance, but there's no rate. Anyway, you see how this one's a cool question. Is teleportation measured in speed? So that's a fun. If you're still in school and you watch this, ask your teacher, your physics teacher, hey, is teleportation measured in speed? Kobayshi map Meru supreme test. I think that's referring to that map with all the extra continents after the ice wall. MSNBC headlines every morning. Trump is racist. Trump is stupid. Trump is a criminal. Trump is senile. Trump's support base is growing tired of him. The media is doing the same thing they did during the Obama administration, that they did during the W. Bush administration, that they did during the Clinton administration, that they did during the previous Bush and previous Reagan and Carter. The media just takes the same stories and just replaces the president with whoever the current president is. And that satisfies the disenfranchised opposition. They just play tricks on your mind. The media, if you want to know who to hate the media, because they're the ones that are constantly dividing. And I remember I went to school for mass comm, TV production, and one of the articles I won't forget was, do Americans like to be pissed off? And it was an article saying that the more you provoke the audience, the more likely they will respond to it, read it with explosive headlines, stuff like that. So actually, we are the enemy because we've created this environment by paying attention to all of the divisive news articles that are out there. Phantom time. I think I covered this in another video. So yeah, phantom time. Phantom time refers to that there's like a missing 300 years in our calendar, as well as like other missing years such as the year 0. Does it go from 1 BC to 180? But then not only that, somewhere along the line there's like, we're really in the year 1700 or something. Who knows? You can look up phantom time. Ceiling theory. I don't really remember what ceiling theory is even doing on here, other than maybe it's talking about the dome. In 92, failure became an option. I vividly remember 92, 93, between like the end of 91, 92, and 93, everything changing. Well, the president changed, the political party of the presidency changed from the Reagan-Bush era over to the Clinton era. It's also the first time I ever saw marijuana or heard of it. And my favorite rappers that once suggested to not smoke Buddha, to not smoke cess, I still express, I don't smoke weed or cess, cause it's gonna give a brother brain damage. And brain damage on the mic don't manage nothing. So that was said by NWA Dr. Dre on Straight Outta Compton. A couple years later, he releases an album called The Chronic. The most confusing thing for me. Rob Bass, I remember It Takes Two. Don't smoke Buddha, can't stand cess, yes. So I don't think Rob Bass bit the weed thing, but Dr. Dre certainly did. Cypress Hill came out with Black Sunday, and while it was a good album, the level that Black Sunday reached, the album wasn't that good. I think there was something behind that. I feel like there's a weed conspiracy. You know, people like to point out the crack conspiracy of the 80s, but I believe there was a weed conspiracy of the 90s. And I was just listening to a Crazy Bone Periscope podcast or live stream that he did, and he said that the first time he ever experienced weed was he didn't say 1992, he said he was 19. So I looked up his birth date plus 19 years, and it was 1992. So 92, there was some kind of weed conspiracy going on, and a lot of people will love to defend their weed desire at all costs, and they defend it like it's the most important thing in the world to defend. People that are fans of weed defend weed like patriots defend the Constitution. I'm not saying anything about marijuana itself right now. I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I observe the conspiracies as they happen. If you subscribe to the crack of the 80s, but you don't subscribe to the weed of the 90s, you're doing it wrong. I vividly remember never seeing marijuana ever, hearing about it, grass, weed, pot, whatever it was called. In 92, not only did I see it for the first time, but my favorite rappers started talking about it for the first time in support of it. Where they, in the previous administration, were against it. Now, is it a conspiracy of the Reagan-Bush administration to say that weed is bad? Or is it a conspiracy of the Clinton administration to say weed is good? And it could have just been a byproduct, since Clinton was known for saying, I didn't inhale. So maybe they were trying to normalize marijuana, I guess, to minimize that part of his, who knows. But it's not just me. Crazy Bone said the same thing, didn't know what he was admitting to, but I did the math and it was the same year, 92. So look it up. I mean, you could just take Dr. Dre, NWA, what he said for NWA and what he said for the Chronic. One was Ruthless Records, one was Death Row. There's a weed conspiracy of 92. And it's not pro or con weed. It's an observation, a conspiratorial observation. And not only, but the point of failure becoming an option, it's not weed. Our teachers used to require us to get A's. And after 92, they started saying things like, well, you know, not everybody gets to be the president. Not everybody gets to be the doctor. So, you know, you don't have to pass all your tests. Kids are stressed out over taking exams, and they're feeling so stressed and they can't sleep and they're so worried and they're living in fear that they might fail. And failure became an option at that point. Prior to that, failure was not even a thing you thought of. You just win, baby. You just find a way to achieve, succeed, by all means necessary. 92, failure became an option. Just saying, think about it. Think back. If you're my age, I'm 39, think back to 92. Failure became an option. All right, the Iron Republic. Got an email about the Iron Republic, so I just looked it up, and it's pretty cool what we have out there. So this is a site, virtualowl.com, realize. Taking a dump on the world, I guess, red and blue, who knows. Is there a civilization beyond our world? Proof there are other worlds on Earth. Article 1609, Iron Republic. Florida Magazine, Jacksonville, 1902. The book, The Iron Republic, written by Richard Jameson Morgan for Florida Magazine in 1902. Wow. Okay. It's a really unbelievable story about a wealthy young American lawyer who flees the USA on a vessel with a small crew. He's duped into running in an election where he is assured winning. Unfortunately, winning this election transformed this popular, well-liked community activist into a demon in the eyes of the American public. Even his best friends abandoned him. Remarkable journey. South Africa. Oh, we got some Antarctica-looking stuff. Hey, the ice wall. They continue to sail east by south with a visible wall of ice on the right-hand side that was 50 to 300 feet high. Finally, they reached the ice walls of the Great South Antarctica about a month later. Description of the ice wall towering as far as the eye can see in either direction with seawater so clear it's hard to imagine is noted in Barrington's log. It's December 1895, they reached sight of Mount Erebus. Appeared like a stairway to heaven. Wow. Let's keep going here. Hey, we got some Aurora Borealis action. Northern Lights. 1911 ship headed to Antarctica. There was disappointment to Barrington as he was trying to escape the world. He can't understand how they ended up here because they were always sailing south on their entire journey. Wow, hey, what do we got? The Iron Republic, a South Polar adventure. 5 hours? Okay, so I guess someone narrated the story.
Great results of our voyage might be achieved when the terrific storm subsided and the atmosphere cleared so that we could again see about...
They even have like sound effects. Very cool. There is no way our world ends at the poles. So check it out. This is virtualowl.com. What if civilization beyond our world? Thanks to whoever submitted the Iron Republic. Skyward, cloud-based drone operations management platform. Yes, so there's a company or a service called Skyward, and it's a cloud-based drone operations management platform. And you know, earlier when I was reading what happened to the solar planes, I was thinking, what if there were a whole bunch of solar-powered platforms that were just hovering, recording everything, audio, video, or delivering internet, or testing for the weather? You know, because if satellites don't exist, according to the flat earthers, then what's getting us all this information? Possibly a bunch of hovering solar-powered devices. All right, I'm going to wrap it here. We're over 25 minutes until the next tinfoil tidbit. There are a lot more left, but I just feel like the momentum's dying down. And I'll just drop another tinfoil tidbit a little bit earlier based on the other slides that I still have remaining. And I think an individual episode's also going to air as well. So thanks for watching. If you got this far, you're awesome. And drop any comments you want, and I'll see you next time.